You're watching Better Business Bureau's Business at its Best, brought to you by Ataraxis. You've got employees, we've got solutions. Human resources, insurance, benefits, and payroll. Our business is your business. BBB's Business at its Best.
Getting your business in growth mode. Good evening, I'm Dale Dixon. Welcome to Better Business Bureau's Business at its Best. Each week, we spend this time showing you how companies in Idaho are acting with ethics and integrity, doing the right thing to grow the economy and make a big difference. On today's show, we cover the Snake River region, talking about growing your business. We've lined up the top people in the consulting and education arenas. Number one, are you doing what it takes to grow your business the right way and making it through the growing pains? We're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to take a look at what you do to find ultimate success if you have a well thought out plan and you are, number one, able to execute. We show you how there. And a business in Twin Falls shows us how customer service, price, quality, and most importantly, trust lead to growth. You know, business at its best is possible because of our media partners in the West and South. You're watching KTVB, Idaho's very own 24/7. And in Eastern Idaho, you are watching Local News 8's Now channel. Well, Ataraxis makes this program possible each week. The company takes care of the day-to-day work of HR, benefits, and payroll so a business owner can focus on growing the business. Stephen Soleil owns the company, joins us today. Thank you so much for being with us. And
you're welcome.
We're talking about this idea of growing your business, the theme for today's show, and we're going to spend some time talking about getting through the growing pains of growing a business, and those pains can be significant.
Yeah, absolutely, they can be very significant.
So we start off with knowing where you want to go.
Right.
Most important thing.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in the business plan sense.
Yeah.
Everybody can write a business plan and line out that path, but really it's almost the vision of what you want the company to be.
This is the 30,000-foot view vision.
Right. Yeah, the 30,000 foot, and even down to I like to go to a 3-year. What are you looking at for 3 years? Because in 3 years it can change, but you've got to have some end goal or something in mind, a vision of what you want it to be besides the business plan. Are you trying to grow it? Do you want to stay whatever size you are? That's fine, but you have to have that in mind so that every day you're operating towards that.
Operating towards that.
Right.
Key piece in that. And then you bring up this idea that you've got to know what you're good at, and as the business owner, and then have enough trust, and that's the key word I see in everything we do, to delegate other things out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if somebody gets into business because they're a good engineer or a good doctor or whatever else and they want to be on their own, then that's probably their focus. And they shouldn't be spending their time doing the books or anything else like that because they're not making money at it, first of all. And so the biggest problem most people have in that instance is that it's their baby. They're trying to take care of it, and they don't know if they can trust somebody else with it. But you have to find those people because you're only going to grow beyond what you can do.
But nobody does it the way I do it. Nobody can do it as well as I do it because I have the passion and the love. I mean, I'm playing the person.
Nobody can, but you have to accept that. You have to accept that nobody can do it as good as you. And once you can accept that, then you can find people you trust to be able to delegate to them and check in with them. But your business is never going to grow beyond you if you have to do everything.
And so important to keep in mind.
Right.
And remember. And then finally, we talk about spend time working on the business, not in the business. And that comes full circle after having the right people whom you trust.
Correct, because it takes planning to grow your business. And it's very easy to work in the business all the time. It's the walk to your desk and there's 1,000 things to do and take the small things and work on those. You can fill your day with that all day long, but it doesn't really do anything for the growth of the business.
And never get anything accomplished in the grand scheme of things. Back to that, you know, what do you want to see? What's the vision?
Right, because a business owner wants, you know, at some point in time, no matter what size it is, they have to spend time working on things that are going to affect the business 3, 6, 12 months from now. If they're not doing that, when you get to that three-month point, you're nowhere different than you were before. And so your business doesn't, if it grows, it's growing because you've got some exceptional product or service and you can't help it. But if you want to control that, you really have to be in charge of that and plan it out.
All right, Stephen Soleil, Ataraxis, the company, ataraxispeo.com.
That's it.
Excellent mental checklist to keep in a business owner's mind as they think about growth. And you know, we're talking about growing your business regardless of what's going on in the economy. Coming up next, building a foundation for growing a business by creating the plan and getting the execution right. You're watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. Better Business Bureau has 6 standards for trust. It's how we expect ethical businesses to act in the marketplace. Advertising honestly, telling the truth, being transparent, being responsive, safeguarding privacy, and honoring promises. Those are the BBB standards for trust. If you are a customer, it's what to watch for. If you own or manage a business, it's how to behave. Today, you're going to hear many excellent tips on how to grow your business, and we're keeping those standards in mind throughout. Just like a building, though, that's built to last, your business must be built on the right foundation. Making sure that the foundational aspects of your business are in place is going to help you be sure that your success is there for you to grow your business. Greg Carlson with OnTrac Coaching works with companies throughout the Snake River region, from Soda Springs to Meridian and Eagle. Greg, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
As we talk about this, and leading our conversation leading up to, how accurate is that statement that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail?
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to build your dream home? And many people do. Mm-hmm. And how many people would build a dream home without a plan?
Nobody.
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 Why is your business any different?
Exactly. It should be the dream.
It should be your dream. What is your dream? And transfer those dreams, just as Steve said earlier about a vision, transfer that vision into a plan, just like your dream home. So many people will spend hours and hours on a dream house, but very little on building a dream in a business. Put it to a plan, work the plan, execute the plan.
So let's go through this now step by step. As you start to put that plan in place, how do the goals, the objectives factor in to what you're doing?
Well, if we don't know where we're going, any old place will do, and we won't know how to get there. We have to establish clear goals and objectives, one, so we have something to shoot for, which is motivating, and secondly, so that everybody on your team knows what you're trying to accomplish. You know, when you're playing football, it's very easy. That's why they call it the goal line. And that's why we set goals and objectives in business.
And when you if you're going to draw out this analogy of the football field, I know where the yard markers are the whole way.
Absolutely.
I'm tracking everything
Absolutely.
as I advance toward the goal line.
And
so you've got to have those objectives in place.
You have to have those objectives in place, and you want to measure every one of those yard lines.
So how can you have the best plan in the world but without the right people?
Yeah.
You're destined to fail.
I will tell you, more businesses fail because of not having the right people. And I can't tell you how many companies I have been in that we made adjustments to people that had astronomical effects in the growth of the business, because they were either there because they didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or they had the wrong person in the wrong position. Once you get the right people, it is critical to build your business grow.
And a big challenge out of that, I can imagine the business owner watching this at home, and they're saying, okay, but where do I find the right people? Because I've tried, I thought I found the right person, that person's in place, and they're not. And they're loyal to my company, but what do I do?
Well, many times you will have the right people in your company, only they will be in the wrong places. But if you have the wrong people in your business, you will be better off getting along without them than having anybody in there at all.
So the plan's in place. We've mentioned this before, but then execution becomes crucial.
Focus on the main thing that is important in your business and execute, execute, execute. If there's anything I see on a consistent basis, is there's a lack of implementation of the plan. Everybody's got great ideas. It's when we transfer those ideas into implementation and make things happen is when you start to grow your business.
Greg Carlson, OnTrac Coaching, the website?
Yeah, OnTracCoaching.com, ONTRAC.
Very good. Thank you so much for being with us today. And coming up next, Dr. Bill Russell, a business professor, joins us with the most important legal issues you face when growing your business. That, when we return, you are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. We are on TV in great Idaho towns like Soda Springs, Shelley, Star, American Falls, Ammon, Middleton, and Fruitland, all those places in between. We're talking about ways you can grow your business. Dr. Bill Russell is Chief Legal Counsel at Northwest Nazarene University. Dr. Russell, thank you so much for being with us today. And let's talk about the legal aspects of growing the business. And first, is it really important that we incorporate a business?
You know, absolutely. When we talk about growing, some things start to come into play, and we'll talk about new things that become important as you get bigger and bigger. The growth triggers things that you have to do. When you're small, it's usually a good idea to be some kind of an artificial entity. You can be an LLP, you can be an LLC, you can be a partnership. Usually best not to just be yourself. That's a sole proprietorship. But corporation is one of many choices when you're small. As you get bigger, the corporation starts to become the only real answer. One of the main reasons for that is because financing is harder and harder to do if you have some of the other entities. Investors at higher levels don't like really putting their money into anything other than a corporation in most businesses.
They want to see that status. They want to see all the guards that are in place.
Absolutely, and particularly if you ever have any hopes of going public, you're going to have to be a corporation.
So a corporation is an important first step as you are growing and you're getting to that stage. Now, one of the key pieces in the growth cycle is adding the new employees. What are the legal implications? What do we need to be thinking about?
There are all sorts of trip points with employees. The law changes as you do things. So, for example, the first time you get a new employee across a state line, it gets more complex. When you cross the 50-person limit, it gets more complex. There are federal laws that don't come into play until you reach 50 employees.
Family Medical Leave Act, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. So there are more and more laws the bigger you get. And I know this is terribly trite, but the answer is when you start getting bigger, you need an HR attorney to help you understand what's coming into play. It's really important to get the attorney involved. There are state laws. The state laws are different from state to state. There are federal laws, and some of those are really dangerous.
So full transparency, you're an attorney, you have a law background, you're chief legal counsel for the university, but obviously there is so much going on there that you need a professional to assist you in maneuvering this circuitous route that you're all on.
And there's a subtle trick there, and that is that as you do a business plan and get bigger, you need to budget a legal expense.
Okay.
You need to plan as a part of your business plan on the notion that you're going to need expertise. As you get bigger, you might also want HR professionals. So you might want somebody who's a trained HR person who can help you see some of those trip points.
So as I'm thinking through this, I can hear somebody saying, how do I find an attorney? How do I even start this process of finding somebody that I trust, who's going to treat me right and be fair?
And that's a fair question. I've got a couple of quick pieces of advice. Number one is the person that you know, the person in your church or the person at your school, just because you know them, that's not the best answer.
Yeah.
You might know the worst attorney in town. You just don't know. They may be a great person. So you really
good friend, worst attorney.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you really want to do some research, and I think the best thing you can do is ask around. Go talk to somebody in business that you know and say, who are you using? Are you happy with them? Recommendations are really important in this arena. Then try to figure out what kind of specialty you're dealing with. Law is a specialized area. You wouldn't have an eye doctor operate on your knee.
Exactly.
The same thing happens with lawyers, so you need to make sure you get into the right specialty. And the other thing that I would say about lawyers is don't be afraid to negotiate. You are the consumer.
You're not winning friends right now with your
I'm not.
counterparts.
You're the buyer, and just because they tell you they're charging $200 an hour doesn't mean that that's what it takes. And I should say, too, the cheapest lawyer is usually not the best lawyer.
All right. Dr. Russell and NU, thank you so much for being with us. Great legal advice, free of charge for our viewers.
There we go.
And Better Business Bureau has a number of resources to help your company be the best it can be. Check out our website, bbb.org. Also, we'd love it if you go to Facebook. Just do a search for Snake River BBB. Hit that like button. Coming up next, 3 ways to jumpstart your company by filling your pipeline with clients. Becky McKinstry of Open Lines Training joins us. You're watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. You are watching Business at its Best on Idaho's very own 24/7 and Local News 8's Now channel. Our focus today, growing your business. Becky McKinstry is president of Open Lines Training, where she provides sales and management consulting to business. She spent about 14 years implementing sales programs and helping businesses find ultimate success. Thanks so much for being with us today, Becky.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Dale.
Let's start out. You bring to us 3 of the most powerful tools, you say, to help businesses start growing, and they're important tools to have in the kit.
They are. Pipeline is one. I know businesses that are, when they're busy and they're happy, but when they're not busy, they realize their pipeline is drying up.
And when you talk about pipeline, just because we've got a lot of viewers across the state, and some are in business, some aren't, that pipeline is the number of customers that you have that you're able, and clients that you're able to bring in.
That's correct. The number of clients as well as consistency.
Okay.
And so that's really the key, because sometimes you can have a number of clients, but your consistency, if it dries up in 3 weeks or 2 months or 6 months, you don't have a consistent pipeline. So pipeline is one. And then connecting with your community is another. You know, you have to build on your relationships you have with your customers as well as bring additional referrals in.
And these relationships need to be deep. It's just not, I call it drive-by business card. That's not a relationship.
Well, that's not a relationship, and that's not very good networking either. So yeah, people aren't happy anymore with surface. You know, you can be friends with them when they walk in your store and not know anything about them or who they are, but we run into people a lot more often than just when they're doing business with us, so they need to matter.
And I'm starting to sense the cyclical nature, because if we have a pipeline, it's going to be full of people we've had good relationships with leading up to. Tool number 3?
Yeah, tool number 3 is actually process and structure. And so they all 3 go together. When you look at your pipeline, the only consistent way to build your pipeline is if you had good processes and structure in place. And so you have to have measuring tools. You have to know, the customers that are coming in your store, and then who do they know? Because they have they could put you in contact with a whole new customer base.
So I hear you saying I need to have this pipeline. How do I start growing that pipeline?
I would recommend you grow the pipeline through strategic alliances, for one, which is people who are not your competitors, but they're calling on the same customer base that you really want. Well, they already know who they are. And so build strategic alliances. Connect with your community, because with pipeline, people like to do business with the community.
People they like, know, and trust.
Yep, that's right. The Better Business Bureau. What a great connection. So when you look at building your pipeline and building on those referrals and building more customers, you have to be out there.
Now we just have about a minute left, but that last bullet point, a good structure. Let's talk about what you mean. What do you mean by establishing that structure, and what does it look like?
Good structure is important because it's one of the best tools you can use to measure your progress and to double check to make sure your pipeline's growing. And so you have job descriptions in place, you have goals, you have targets, you're meeting every week, you know what's going on in your business. Without those, people aren't on the same page, they're probably not headed in the same direction, and so you have to have those tools in place.
Very good. Becky McKinstry, folks want to find you?
They can find me at openlinestraining.com. We're located in downtown Meridian. You can reach us at 850-6526.
All right, thank you so much for being with us today, and that toolbox that's so important. Coming up next on Business at its Best, a look inside a Twin Falls business for common sense ideas to grow your company by focusing on customer service, price, quality, and ultimately building trust. You are watching Business at its Best, presented by Ataraxis. Welcome back to Business at its Best. You can find qualities that help you grow a company in just about any business, from landscaping to web development. Key points always stand out. It's usually something like customer service, price, quality, and ultimately trust. We spoke to the president of a refrigeration service company in Twin Falls, who talks about what customers should and can expect.
Well, what they should expect is they should expect someone to answer the phone, hopefully not get a recording. You should expect the person to be friendly and very helpful when they answer the phone, make them feel comfortable that they can ask any questions that they have, any concerns that they might have. If they're a little hesitant to answer any of your questions, then maybe, it's something that you might want to, take into effect when you're calling them and you're wanting them to come out. Because if they can't freely answer your questions, then they either might not know or they might be hiding something. We always say the best way of advertising is a referral, word of mouth. So I feel like if you call a company and you're thinking about using them, that you should ask them, who else do you service? Can you give me their name and number? I would like to give them a call, and I would like to ask them a few questions about your company. Any company that is reputable and that does a good job would be happy to give you some of their customers' names so that they can call and ask about you. Price is important, but you can't go off price alone, because there are going to be companies out there that are always going to be lower than, let's say, my company. Well, you may find someone that per hourly rate that they're maybe $5 or $10 lower than I am, but then you've got to make sure that the quality there is there as well. That the companies that have been here the longest, that are members of the Better Business Bureau, or that have high quality technicians, they are going to need to be a little bit more, because they've got all the insurances that they have to pay for, they've got the experience that they're paying for, and realize that $5, $10 cheaper isn't always the best way to go, because what we always say is you're paying for what you get. And follow through, and follow up and make sure that you don't call them one day and then the next day you call because it didn't work right and they're not there or the number is disconnected. So trust and quality is huge.
Well, you can find trustworthy companies at bbb.org. In fact, before you buy, research a company with BBB to check out its rating. Then after the purchase, be sure to leave a customer review on that company's business review. Here's a quick recap of what we learned on today's show. We first spoke with Stephen Saleh of Ataraxis. He talked about growing pains and specifically know what you're good at and how to delegate to trusted people in your organization so you can spend time focusing on the business, not spend time in the business. From Greg Carlson of OnTrac Coaching, we learned about the importance of having a plan, then executing on that plan. And finally, from Becky McKinstry of Open Lines Training, set up the metrics and measure what you want to grow so that you are growing effectively, looking at those results in the long term, building your pipeline. So important to have. We thank you so much for spending time with us on this edition of Business at its Best. We're back right here next week for another edition showcasing great businesses in Idaho. Make it a great week.